Hi, my name is Natasha, and welcome to the world of watercolor. Today, we will create a bright, life-giving illustration of delicate lilac blossoms, step by step. Even if you have never painted before, don't worry, everything will work out. Just follow the video, and your skills will grow each time. In this lesson, you'll learn how to choose the right watercolor paper, get to know essential art tools, make a light sketch, learn to work with color and smooth transitions, and finally, add expression with line work. It's a great subject for practice, whether you're a beginner or already painting. Before we start painting, let's take a look at the materials. I use watercolor paper of different thicknesses. Thicker paper holds water better, while lighter paper is great for quick sketches. Here are the tools we'll need. Watercolor paper. Watercolor paper is denser than regular paper, usually no less than 185 GSM. It has a slightly rough and porous texture, which helps hold water and creates those beautiful blending effects. It withstands a lot of water without warping. 3 markers with different nib sizes, used for outlining elements in your artwork. Each size has its purpose, from bold contours to fine details. 2 brushes of different sizes. Notice how even a large brush has a pointed tip, perfect for fine lines. The body of the brush can cover larger areas when you need to fill in color. A pencil and an eraser for sketching out your composition beforehand. The eraser helps clean up unwanted lines and make adjustments. Watercolor paints. They come in all kinds, but for beginners, simple and affordable sets work just fine. A white marker, great for adding highlights and final accents to make your piece pop. Masking tape, to fix your paper to the table and prevent it from warping or moving around. A regular hairdryer, handy for quickly drying wet areas on the paper and saving time between layers. A paper towel or cloth, to blot your brush or dab away any stray drops of water. So it's time to start. Take a sheet of paper from a notebook and use sticky tape to attach the sheet to the work surface, so the paper stays in place and doesn't warp during the process. Before I start, I lay out everything I will need. A palette of watercolors. I've pre-selected the shades I want to use, from delicate light lilac to deep dark purple. A few greens for the leaves, some reddish accents. Nearby, black and white markers for final drawing, a brush of medium hardness, a glass with clean water, and a napkin. You can't go anywhere without it. I start, as always, with a pencil sketch. I don't strive for accuracy. It's just a sketch, a guide. With light lines, I mark where the inflorescences will be located, where the leaves will lie. I do not draw each petal. I only indicate the general shape, movement, rhythm of the branch. This stage is important. It sets the composition, but at the same time leaves room for spontaneity. When the sketch is finished, I pause. It is a moment of silence. I check the composition with my gaze. My mind is already imagining how the colors will lie, where there will be light and where there will be shadow. In front of me, a thin grid of pencil lines, not yet a living plant, but it is about to start breathing. Lilacs are a special motif. Many artists love it precisely because of the way it allows you to work with translucent layers. It has no sharp contours. The shapes seem to dissolve into the air. It is a flower of light and nuance. Each inflorescence has dozens of tiny petals, and they all reflect light in their own way. Watercolor is perfect for capturing this layered, fragile beauty. I start with the lightest touch of color. I dilute a light lilac, almost watery shade, and apply it to the areas where the flowers are to be. Here it is important not to rush. The first layer should remain airy, almost transparent. It only hints at the shape, like a light haze. Watercolor lies down softly, spreads out, and I let it do so. I don't hold it back. Let the paper breathe. For the leaves, I dilute delicate green. It should be as light and clean as lilac. No heavy spots, just the base tone. The color looks flat so far, but I know this is just the beginning. This stage is like a prologue in music. It sets up the viewer, creates a general feeling, but it doesn't tell the whole story yet. Next, it's time to add tonality. I take a more saturated lilac and start putting spots on the petals. Not all at once, only where there are shadows, where flowers overlap each other, where I want to show depth. This is not the final color yet, but there is already a volume, a sense of form. Flowers begin to pop out of the paper. If you're thinking, "I can't draw," just believe me, you can. Drawing is not about innate talent, it's about practice and joy. Follow along with me, take your time, and you'll be amazed at how your skills improve. The key is not to compare yourself to others, just enjoy the process. Now I take a thin marker. This is a special moment in the work, the transition from soft, fluid watercolor to a more defined, meaningful line. Line is what connects the abstraction of color with the concreteness of form, giving the work rhythm and structure. I start carefully tracing the contours of flowers and leaves, but I do it not everywhere, but only where it is really necessary to emphasize the form, to direct the eye, to accentuate details. It is important not to overdo it. The line should be light, lively, almost a breath. It should not overwhelm the watercolor, but on the contrary, work in dialogue with it. I try to make it hint rather than assert. Somewhere it is interrupted, somewhere barely noticeable. This gives the image airiness and preserves the feeling of light.
A marker requires precision and focus. Unlike watercolor, it doesn't give second chances. A wrong line will remain forever, so every movement must be deliberate. I work slowly, carefully, as if listening to the drawing before continuing. There is something special about this process. The balance between the freedom of intuition and the need for strict control. It is at this delicate juncture that the real pleasure of the work is born, when each stroke becomes a conscious choice. Back to color. This is a special stage, the moment when the work begins to acquire depth and saturation. Now I am adding more active accents, intensifying the sound of the composition. On the petals, I introduce warm lilac shades. In some places, I allow myself to go into reddish halftones. This gives the image liveliness, warmth, and nuance. The color begins to play, becomes more complex, richer, as if coming to life before my eyes. At the same time, I work on the leaves, where denser, darker green areas appear. I carefully follow the light shading, trying not just to darken, but to sculpt the form through tone and color. It's as if I'm building a volume out of light, as if I'm modeling a sculpture, but instead of clay, there are only transparent layers of paint. This stage is like breathing in painting. The work ceases to be flat, decorative. It begins to sound on another level. There is a sense of depth, multi-layeredness, as if behind each stroke there is a story, movement, space. And here it is especially important to keep the balance, to strengthen the expressiveness, but not to lose the lightness of watercolor, transparent layers of paint. You can learn to draw at any age. It is not a talent given from birth, but a skill that develops with practice, attention, and interest. The main thing is to start. Do not be afraid of mistakes. Do not compare yourself with others, and allow yourself to just sit down and try. Drawing is not about the result. It's about the process. It is a way to slow down, to hear yourself, to feel the moment. Many people discover painting as adults, and that's when it's especially valuable. It is not only creative self-expression, but also a way to restore inner balance, meditation, and color. And if there are children or grandchildren around, it can become a wonderful joint occupation. Drawing unites, teaches to observe, fantasize, share impressions. Together with loved ones, it turns into a warm ritual filled with joy and real live communication. And it doesn't matter where you start. With a simple sketch, a watercolor spot, or a single sprig of lilacs. The main thing is to let yourself be a student, to let yourself create, because every stroke is a step towards something new, and this path is open to everyone. Now it's time for the darkest accents. These are the final touches that give the work depth and completeness. I take a dark lilac, almost plum shade, and add a little blue, cold, calm. With these colors, I begin to intensify the shadows in the depths of the inflorescences, exactly where the petals are layered on each other, where the light almost does not penetrate. These rich, velvety shadows are born. They do not just darken, they add a sense of space, give volume, as if they let coolness and silence into the work. On the leaves, I put a dense, saturated green, thick but not deafening. I try to work carefully so as not to overload the composition. These shadows should not shout, should not draw attention. Their task is to support the light, emphasize the form, create balance. Everything should be in harmony, cold and heat, light and shadow, contrast and softness. It is in these nuances that integrity is born. The work begins to breathe, to sound like a completed work. And it is here that it is especially important to feel the measure, because an extra stroke can break the fragile balance that I have been working towards throughout the work. We're almost done. The lilac branch has come to life on paper, from the first light sketches to the final accents. Now you know how to create a watercolor drawing step by step, how to outline the shape, build color, work with light shading, and add expressive details. I hope you felt that this process is not only about technique, but also about pleasure, observation, and the special inner peace that comes with drawing. If you liked this lesson, check out our channel. Here you will find a lot of interesting and useful videos. There are materials both for adults who want to develop their creative skills and for children, simple, inspiring lessons that are suitable for family creativity. The final stage is the most meditative. I begin to fill the bunches of lilacs with small flowers one by one. This is painstaking work, requiring patience and attention to detail. Each small flower is like a separate stroke of mood, like a link in the overall pattern. I try to vary the shades. Somewhere lilac is lighter, somewhere deeper, with a warm or cold cast. In this way, the inflorescences gain volume and begin to sound vivid and natural. This stage takes time, but it creates a sense of completion. The bunches become denser, more saturated. There is a rhythm, a filling. The work no longer needs anything extra. It is ready, and there is a special joy in it, to see how a whole world is born from a sketch, from stains and strokes, step by step. And finally, the final detail, drawing in white and black marker. It's like a flash of light and shadow. With black, I go over the most important lines, sometimes adding light strokes inside the petals. With white, I put accents, highlights, hints of light that falls on the edge of the petal. These points make the whole work alive. They do not dominate, but they create completeness, like the last chord in music. That's it. The drawing is ready. The lilac branch is finished, and now it lives on paper. Light, bright, full of color and mood. Thanks to everyone who was with me and watched this video till the end. I hope you learned something new, and most importantly, felt inspired. If this video was helpful to you, I would really appreciate a like, comment, and your support. But most importantly, let it be the very impetus for you to pick up a brush, to try, to experiment, to just start. After all, painting is available to everyone, and let your creative path will be joyful and exciting. See you in new videos.